In this video, I want to look at why the coronavirus pandemic has accelerated digital transformation. As a futurist, I help companies understand the latest technology trends, and I have written a book called Tech Trends in Practice, in which I look at the 25 most transformative technology trends that will really change businesses over the next 10 years. And this book basically came out just before the pandemic struck. And what I have experienced is that lots of these technologies have now been fast-tracked. So when I thought some of these technologies are on the horizon now for 5 or 10 years' time, many of them have become increasingly and very real to companies during this pandemic. Technology trends like artificial intelligence that is helping organizations to optimize their business processes, to deliver better and more personalized customer service, robots that are now being used to do deliveries and automate warehouses. We have 5G that allows people to work from home much more effectively. We have augmented reality and virtual reality. So many of these tech trends. So what I thought I'd do is I give you 4 areas where I think this technology has really made a big difference, that highlight some of the transformative power of these technologies. So the first one is working from home. Companies were suddenly faced with this environment where everyone left their offices and was staying at home. And those companies that had invested in good digital systems that allowed people to access cloud-based solutions from anywhere, that had the good security in the background, they were in much better shape. Many businesses that were not quite there yet, they thought, okay, we put cloud infrastructure in place. In the future, we'll digitize our systems that will give people access to working from anywhere, had to fast track this. Just think about video conferencing. This was something I've always talked about, saying, why don't we do this more? Why do people fly to different countries to have a 20-minute meeting and then come back when we can do this really effectively over a 20-minute Zoom call? So Zoom is a great example. As a company, they've seen this massive explosion in demand, and luckily all their systems were based on cloud. So their cloud infrastructure, which then means they can easily scale things up and down as demand goes up and down. So companies have basically accelerated all of this digital transformation. Telehealth is another of the areas that has been transformed. So suddenly people didn't like to go to doctors. I've always said this, why do I have to, when I don't feel well, why do I have to make an appointment with my doctor, go to the surgery, queue up there, sometimes they are running late and I'm running late. This process seemed very ineffective when actually it can be done over a phone call. So my doctor has been doing this for many years, that they have done phone consultations. But on a phone consultation, you miss lots of things because you don't see people's faces, you miss some of the emotions and the pains and whatever they're going through. So nowadays, this can be delivered on a video call as well. So you see video healthcare delivery via video calls has been exploding by 80% during the pandemic. The other thing is that digital health is exploding as well. Why do we need to go to our doctors when we now have a mobile phone app that can tell me what my skin condition might be? And if you think about this, these systems are trained by millions and billions of images of all the different skin conditions you have. So even if you go to a dermatologist who spent 10 years building up his or her expertise in a field, they will never have seen as many images and will not be as good in diagnosing someone's problems. So all of this has been hugely accelerated during the pandemic. Another area is education. Again, I've had to juggle my work life, working from home, with my children being at home and homeschooling, which has been a challenge. But education for me is another thing that is pretty broken. So suddenly schools had to reinvent what they do. They had to jump onto digital platforms to give kids working from home access to material. They are now delivering their own lessons on video conferencing. My son and daughter have been on Teams calls with their teachers. And for me, this is again the starting point for this digital transformation, which has been fast-tracked. I'm also a governor of a very large school, and we've been talking about some of these things and said we need to put them into the pipeline. Education is going to change. We'll have more personalized education, more education driven by artificial intelligence and machines. We'll have more augmented reality where kids can actually put on a headset and experience history for real. And again, all of these things are being fast-tracked. Augmented reality in education, virtual reality in education, personalized education systems, and they've just exploded during the pandemic. The other area, the final area I want to look at is events. I started talking about this already. Last year alone, I must have flown to San Francisco 5 times for a 12-hour plane journey across the Atlantic to give a 20-minute presentation somewhere. And you think, isn't this completely crazy when we can now deliver really powerful virtual events? And again, this is something that our world has changed. We can't currently have physical events, so companies have accelerated this. We have seen this in sporting environments where companies are now looking at VR to experience sporting events, and we see something similar in the overall events and business conference industry, where people think actually virtual events are probably as good, if not better, if they're done well. So there are 4 examples that for me highlight how all of these tech trends I talk in my book have now become even more important during this pandemic. As always, if you want to learn any more about any of those technology trends, head to my YouTube channel or subscribe, or also go to my website where I have hundreds of videos and thousands of articles on all of these technology trends with many case studies of how organizations are actually using these today to transform themselves.